This video was produced by The Top Cut. Be sure to check out thetopcut.net, your home for Pokemon TCG tournament coverage, professional game analysis, and interviews with the best players in the world. Thanks for watching. Hey everybody, this is Puka bringing you the top 4 of the Ohio State Championship. We got a nice handshake here between Justin Young on the left and Dustin Zimmerman on the right. And right here we're going to have the two top decks in the format clashing here. I know lately we've had a lot of Zekrom Electric Mirror matches, but this will be a Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus deck on the right from Dustin versus the Zekrom Electric deck from Justin on the left. Sorry, I'm going to get confused a lot between Justin and Dustin here, but Dustin is the guy playing the green thing there, Celebi, and Justin is the guy playing the big bad Zekrom right there. So, right off the bat here we got a dual ball, one heads from Dustin he's going to grab. Looks like Regigigas EX, so that's going to start it off for him. Let's just go through what will happen in this matchup, what each player is aiming to do. So for Dustin, he's going to use Celebi Prime's Forest Breath, Pokepower, to get extra energy attachments. Looks like we'll have another dual ball here. So it allows him to attach an extra grass energy for the turn, and then he'll use Sky Arrow Bridge to retreat the Celebi, because he can only use the power when it's active. Then he can attach a second energy retreat to something like Regigigas or Tornadus or Mewtwo EX, and then just start attacking right off the bat. That is his form of energy acceleration. If everything goes well for him, he can start attacking on the first turn and really start sticking it to Justin right away. Dustin's goal is going to be to keep Justin from getting any electrics into play, which has that pesky Dynamotor ability, which allows him to take energy from his discard pile and attach it to his Pokemon. So if Justin can manage to get those electrics into play, he'll have a good shot. But if Dustin can get enough Pokemon catchers out and overwhelm him with early pressure, Justin won't be able to set up his attackers and he'll probably end up losing. Zekrom and Thundurus are both pretty efficient attackers against the Celebi deck, but if you can't power them up, they're really not doing you any good. So the battle for Dustin is going to be catching and knocking out those Dynamos, maybe some electrics, and the battle for Justin is going to be getting him into play without getting too far behind. So right off the bat, Dustin is going to go ahead and get pretty much a perfect start. He's going to use Regigigas and use, I think the first attack's called Giga Power. He can do 60 damage. If he wants to, he can do 20 to himself and then 20 to the defending Pokemon as well. But looks like he's just going to do 60. And then next turn he'll be able to do the 80 if he wants to. And this is just a really strong start. It's going to put a ton of pressure onto Justin, because look, he's already staring down this Regigigas EX with 180 hit points. And if he hits the Regigigas, then it can use Raging Hammer, which does 50 plus 10 for each damage counter on it. So if you get Regigigas angry, he will respond with much more force and start dishing out a lot of damage. Like, let's say if Justin were to use Outrage here, it'll do 80 damage, and then Regigigas can respond with Raging Hammer, which will do 50 plus 80, which is 130, and that's going to demolish a lot of stuff. So Regigigas is a very strong card as long as Justin doesn't play any Terrakion or any fighting Pokemon. And looks like Justin, which Dustin is pointing out, played 2 Pokegears and then finally Junk Armed for the 3rd Pokegear and got that Pokemon Collector, which will allow him to get 2 Dynamos and a Thundurus. So we will see if Justin has a switch as well, and looks like he got a level ball too. So this is exactly what Justin needs to have happen. He's going to level ball and he's going to search for another Dynamo, but it might be prized. Most people play about 3 Dynamos in their deck, some play 4. I'm going to assume that Justin plays 3 and the 3rd one is prized, so kind of an unlucky break for him here. I was going to say this is exactly what he needs. He needs to get 3 Dynamos out at once. That way, if Dustin catches one of them, he can just evolve the other ones, and they'll be pretty safe. He'll have some energy acceleration, but if you can only get 1 or 2 Dynamos on the field, usually it doesn't go very well for you. They get picked off by catcher, and you get knocked out. Look, it looks like he missed an energy attachment as well, so not a great start for Mr. Young on the left. And Dustin looks like he is in firm control so far. Of course, he would love to get an Eviolite on his Regigigas EX to prevent the self-damage from his first attack. Doesn't look like he has it though, but he did have a Professor Juniper. He's got a fresh hand, and everything is going pretty well for him. It's a perfect start, and he's got a plus power, so he doesn't even have to damage himself. He could have catchered for Dynamo and started taking those out, but he decided it was just better to knock out that Zekrom. He knows, okay, Zekrom is actually going to be the biggest pest in this matchup, just because, well, it's pretty efficient. It's got 130 hit points. Bolt Strike will knock out Regigigas in 2 hits, and I mean, it's just tough to deal with when you're using the Celebi, Tornadus, Mewtwo, and I guess Regigigas deck. Unless you play Terrakion yourself. So there are a lot of fighting weak Pokemon out here, but I don't believe either player uses any fighting Pokemon. So for the most part, we'll see both of them immune to being knocked out in 1 hit. And at some point, we got to look out for who's going to put down the first Mewtwo EX, and will it degenerate into Mewtwo Wars from there. So here, Justin used Dynamotor to get that energy onto Thundurus. Now we have an N. So Dustin on the right will draw 5, and Justin on the left will draw 6. And Justin has now drawn a pretty bad hand with no supporters, so he will have to attach and use Charge. And we're going to take it from there, I think. So he actually puts the energy onto Thundurus and charges. Now this could open him up to the first Mewtwo. Dustin were to have like a Switch, a Mewtwo, a Double Colorless, and a plus power, he could X-Ball for 110 and get a knockout there. Not too likely, but it's just something to keep in mind. And we'll have to see what Justin does next and what Dustin does next. And he actually catches out Electric, and this is what Justin has to be afraid of. Just his energy acceleration being taken out. Thundurus works very well with Electric. He charges, gets more lightning energy into play. Disaster Volt discards them so that Electric can use Dynamotor. But Thundurus on its own, not so good. You have to keep discarding energy every turn, and then you have to attach to attack again. And if you don't have that Electric behind it to power up other attackers, you just eventually fall behind and lose. So Dustin knows, alright, I can't let my opponent have this Electric, and I'm going to go after it with Regigigas. Looks like he does have a Junk Arm if he wants to plus power. That would be a knockout. And we're just going to wait on Dustin. There is a Junk Arm. He's going to get rid of Celebi, and I didn't catch what the other card was, but he's going to get plus power, I'm sure. And then he will hit the Electric for 90 damage, does 30 to himself, and gets a knockout. So Dustin right away taking the first 2 prizes pretty quickly. I think this is the 3rd turn. He's now taken 2 prizes, and really Justin's on the back foot. He did top deck a Juniper, which was very helpful, and he catches out this Tornadus, so he will be able to Disaster Volt for a prize here, and he grabs a Level Ball off that Juniper as well. So things not as bad as they could be. Definitely seen worse situations in the world. And there we go, there's that Level Ball. He'll be able to get that Electric into play, and he'll start charging up that Zekrom on the bench. So even though Dustin's had a fairly strong start, Justin definitely not out of this. Once he starts to stabilize, his attackers certainly can keep up with Dustin's. And who knows, maybe we'll see him mount a little comeback here. So Justin Young is now down a prize. He closed the gap a little bit. Dustin does have that Sky Arrow Bridge in play now, which will give free retreat to his Celebi Primes. Any basic Pokemon in play now has one less retreat cost, which is really the heart and soul of the Celebi deck. If you don't have the Sky Arrow Bridge in play, then you can't free retreat, and all of your Pokemon become a lot weaker. So, we will find out what Dustin does next. He has just that Regigigas EX really powered up, and he doesn't have anything really beyond that. His Tornadus with an energy got knocked out, and this is sort of the problem in this matchup for the Celebi deck. You can knock out the Electrics and the Tynamos early on, but then your attackers really aren't that great against, well, Lightning Pokemon. Particularly Tornadus is fairly useless in this matchup. You can knock out Tynamos early on, but then, well, the Lightning Genie has the advantage over the Flying Genie. Apparently Lightning shoots down clouds, and that's really all there is to it. Thundurus knocks out Tornadus in one hit, and here we go. Dustin's going to put down the first Mewtwo, puts an energy on it with Forest Breath, and there's a bit of a risk, but he is going for it. And there's a Shaman, Celebration Wind, and he is really just going for it. Here's a Juniper, so he will be able to X-Ball, knock out this Thundurus, and we are going to enter Mewtwo War, I think, pretty soon. Pretty risky play here from Dustin, but he's deciding to go for it. X-Ball for a knockout. And this is sort of a situation where you can get away with starting a Mewtwo War, just because, okay, he's ahead 2 prizes, and now if Justin responds with a Mewtwo, which he will, and here's a Cheren to draw 3, so Justin has decided, okay, I'm going to respond with a Mewtwo, and then next turn, Dustin can respond with Mewtwo, and he'll be back in the lead, so he's ahead 2 prizes, so even if his Mewtwo gets knocked out, the game will just be tied, and that is perfectly fine. If you are tied or only ahead 1 prize after you get your first knockout with Mewtwo, you can be in some trouble. You can end up losing the race. But in this situation, now we're just tied. So things are still going well for Dustin Zimmerman. We'll see. This is a big turn to see if he can respond with a knockout here. He needs either a catcher or a Mewtwo of his own, and it looks like he has the Mewtwo. So he's going to be just fine for now. And yet he just puts all the cards down at once. Forest Breath from Celebi, and then a Mewtwo, double colorless. And he's going to be able to X-Ball for 200. So a lot of the games we've seen in this format do degenerate into this basic battle. Mewtwo versus Mewtwo. Who gets more X-Balls and who falls behind. Right now, we do see Dustin plays an N, which is a smart move. This is going to make it tougher for Justin to respond with a Mewtwo of his own next turn. And it's smart because you're using N right before you take your 2 prizes. N is going to be worthless after you get this knockout this turn because, I mean, really, when you're down at 1 prize, N is one of the worst cards you can draw because you don't want to put yourself at 1 card. But here, he draws 3 cards and then 2 more with the 2 prizes, and it's very unlikely that Justin will use an N, but he does get a Mewtwo. Here we go, off that Juniper, and he's pretty excited about it, but he's gonna tie the game here. All Dustin needs here is to take 1 more prize though, and this game will be over. So a very, very fast-paced game here, where if either player missed a beat, they would certainly just lose. And this next turn is going to be the big one for Dustin. Does he have the cards to get a last prize here? And there is a double colorless. All he needs is a catcher or a junk arm, and he will be victorious here in this first game. So let's see, what is he going to do? Puts another energy onto Regigigas. He's going for the Juniper. Does he draw the junk arm or the catcher? Oh, he draws his entire deck. So, okay, yeah, he got it. So he's going to catcher. There are plenty of targets there for him to take out. And actually, just the Dynamo, but he gets the Dynamo, and that will be the game 1, first game of the series. And we will see if Justin can come back. He will go first in the second game. And Dustin had a pretty good start that game. Really just put the pressure on Justin starting from the first turn. And Dustin never looked back. So, we will see who comes out on top here in this battle of the Austins in the top 4 of the Ohio State Championship. So we'll be right back with Game 2.